Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now today I'm going to do a report on the Cranage show, which is the Northwest Audio Show, which we've had for a few years now, and it's set in a sort of local hotel. I think I'm actually the closest dealer to it, and yet I've never done it. I only ever go as a sort of to have a look around really. I sort of kind of go as a I was going to say customer, but yeah, but I tend to just go and have a wander around it. I've never displayed there. I think I need to think that one through and perhaps do it, because particularly when I'm doing the YouTube side, the amount of people who said hello to me, it was really good. Just about every corridor I walked down, there was somebody said, "Oh, hello, you're yeah." So and it was brilliant, really nice. Anybody who saw me there, I'm sorry, if I didn't stop and talk for very long. Sorry about that. I was a bit spaced out because we'd been on holiday for previous week, and I'd just driven down from Scotland the day before from Inverness, so it was like a 10-hour drive, and I wasn't totally. I'd sort of gone because I'd promised to go, and I was really a bit worn out and spaced out. So apologies for that if I didn't quite seem with it when I spoke to you. But anyway, no, it was a great show. I must admit, I've always quite liked it. It's had good years and bad years, but it slowly seems to be growing, and there's sort of better sort of kind of think when people displaying now, they seem as though there's quite a few dealers do it. It seems to be attracting some of the bigger names now. Whereas for a few years it was just very, very quirky. It was very interesting, but there was products in there that you'd never heard of and probably would never hear of again. But it seems to be a nice balance now. There's a bit of that and a bit of, the bigger names. So I've been trying to work out how to actually show this. And I did think about taking the GoPro and walking around and all that sort of thing. But if there'd been any music in the background, it would have YouTube would have shut it down. The video, so I couldn't really do that. So I just took a handheld camera and just took a few shots while I was there, really. And so what I'm going to do is sort of run through a few photos and just talk about what I liked, what I didn't like. Not that my opinion particularly matters. And also, I think with hi-fi shows, I wouldn't ever sort of form an opinion on how good equipment is by what you hear at shows, because there's a few factors. The rooms tend to not be that great. They tend to be set up in a way that allows people to sit rather than, to get a lot of people to sit in the room. So they're not necessarily in the system in the right place in the room. They tend to be set up quite quickly. The mains in hotels is fairly poor. Not that it's any worse than anybody else, but when you imagine all these different hi-fi systems playing on the same, the amount of rubbish on the mains must be horrendous. So everything's against it. Yeah, like I said, a lot of the rooms are sort of dry-line walls and all this sort of thing, very echoey rooms, not much furniture, and everything's against it. So it's never going to sound great. And what I tend to find is some of the best equipment sounds really poor at hi-fi shows, and some of the sort of more mediocre, lower-end stuff can sound really good. So you get a very skewed opinion, or skewed sort of effect, really, of what things really sound like. So what I've got here, I've got my laptop to my side here, and just so I can sync it, I'm just going to talk and then flick through the photos, and then I'll overlay the photographs later on, just so you can see what I'm talking about. Hopefully this will work. I don't know whether it will or not. I don't know, but I'm still a bit spaced out from travelling down because, like I said, I've been away a week. I'm literally just back in the shop now, and I've just more emails. Just worked my way through 500 emails, which were mostly junk, obviously, but worked my way through them all. Still coming in. So yeah, let's go through the photos. Start off with this picture of the front of the building, obviously. Quite a big hotel. It's set in really nice grounds. There's pond, lots of parking there. And it's just sort of in the village of Cranage, which is on the A50, I think, sort of not far off the M6 motorway, so it's fairly easy access. First room as you come in, first room I went into, to be honest, I looked in a few of the little stalls or whatever. Some rival of mine, a rival of mine, Acoustic, up in Chester. Not really a rival, I've sort of known him for years, to be honest. I mean, I was quite friendly with Jeff before he started Acoustic, and he's now retired and handed over to Pete. Quite a decent sound in there, actually. He had quite a lot of stuff in there, including the B&Ws. That you can see in front of you. I've never been a fan of B&W, to be honest. I mean, they make a reasonable sound, but I've never been Some people are very into them. I've never quite got the B&W thing. Also, he had SME turntables. Now that's it, which is interesting. I've always really liked SME. Weird thing with SME now is you can't buy an SME arm, and I've been an agent for SME for a long time, but not really used it. To be fair, I've had the odd arm over the years. I would only ever want to sell the arms. I wouldn't really want to sell the turntables. I mean, they're okay, but if we go on to the next model here, this is the budget model. It's getting on for £7,000, and I can't see that the justification in that somehow. They are good, but I just don't see that they quite justify the cost. Tone arms, yes, but even there, I think the price before they stopped supplying them as a separate entity, they were getting really expensive, kind of for what they were. I don't know. Saying that, I've still got a bit of a soft spot for them. So anyway, yeah, this room was interesting. This was more about the recordings. They were playing binaural recordings, which are sort of single or cross pair mics or dummy head type recordings, which give you a really big acoustic. It was a little bit lost at the show, to be honest. You kind of had to stand dead centre between the centre line between the speakers, and it's not easy in these big rooms. I didn't really get much chance to probably sit and have a listen to it. But binaural stuff is quite interesting. Generally, with headphones, you get a better effect from it, but you do get this very, very 3D effect of it. And that's what they were showing, was the binaural stuff. I can't remember the name of the company, which isn't helpful. But yeah, that was quite an interesting one. Then I went into Doug Brady room, all friends of mine, obviously, because I used to work for them. I think they must have brought most of the shop, to be honest. There's the amount of equipment they had there was just phenomenal. This was an interesting one. I can't just pronounce his name. Dan D'Agostino, who was behind all the Krell amplifiers, or a lot of the Krell amplifiers. A lot of the really good high-end stuff over the years has been Dan. So I can just stick it in case. But this is his own named brand. Yeah, they had a big system. Well, they had a couple of systems set up, but this was, I believe, about £100,000 worth. And to be honest, in spite of the fact the room it was in, the way it was, the big sort of furnitureless room it was in, it sounded okay actually. It worked pretty well. I didn't get much chance to see what it was. I think the power amps might be Griffin. And the speakers I don't recognise. I didn't like to walk in front of everybody to have a look, to be honest. But I had a good chat with the lads there, because I still know a few of the staff who were still there from my time, really. On the corridor outside, there was a few sort of tables with various little products on there. Townsend have always done this at trying to call it Cranfield, at Cranage, showing all their sort of isolator stuff. If you've seen my review of the podiums, there's not the podium. I did the bars, which are off towards the other side. Why I'm pointing to this, I don't know. They've got the isolation bars, and on the right hand side there, the actual podiums, which are the platform versions. As I said in the review, these are superb products. They work really, really well, and they do the demonstration there with the little seismograph thing sat on top of the speaker. One has one speaker on a platform, one not on a platform, and comparing the two, and it's remarkable. Even stood 30, 40 feet away and kicking your foot on the floor, one was registered and the other one wasn't. It was really interesting, and that does transmit into a big improvement acoustically to your system. It does really work. Next, oh yeah, this next picture is Multimedia Discs, who Paul from Multimedia actually sent me some of his record mats to try, which I'm sorry, Paul, I have tried. I've had a very quick listen to, because of just from a time point of view. I had a customer who wanted to take one out to really get a good variety of sort of effects from it. It's basically a vinyl record mat, which makes so much sense. There's a clear version and there's a version with a strobe on it. The clear version is quite interesting because if you put on a Riga 3, it's like a lot of people with Riga 3s like to have the glass, the bare glass without the mat on. You shouldn't really do that because it hasn't got the indent for the record label, so it tends to sit a bit weird. But the vinyl mat does, and the clear one, you still look as though you've got just your glass platter. So that's quite an interesting product. Lovely guy. If you want to contact him directly, you can probably see it on there, multimediadiscs.co.uk. Give him a call. I will probably be selling these, but I do need to do a review, which will probably be one of the tweakery reviews at some point. But yeah, lovely guy and clever little product. And yeah, he was at the show. This is an interesting one. Now, this was the Henley room, and I struggle with this a little bit. There's the amplifier's a synthesis, biggish valve amplifier, project turntable, Klipsch speakers. I've forgotten what they're called. The big ones, not the heresies, the bigger versions. It sounded awful. To be fair to them, the room wasn't really doing them any favours. It was an pretty much empty room. Klipsch are very difficult speakers to get right, and I think the acoustic of the room wasn't suiting it. I mean, they're basically a domesticated version of PA. That's how they're very, very efficient. They can sound amazing, but they tend to need to be driven loud. A lot of horn-based stuff, to me, doesn't seem to like being driven carefully. They need to be quite, played loud, whatever. I've had quite a lot of experience with Klipsch heresies, not the bigger versions of which again I forget the name of. The heresies, to me, sound amazing with rock, but everything else sounds like rock through them as well, even folk and classic. Everything's got that sort of big, sort of angry sound almost, and I think they're a bit tiring, to be honest. I mean, I can sort of see why people might like them. I mean, in my view, I think they're a little bit too coloured, too sort of bit beamy, to whatever. But I can actually see why people would like them, because there's things that they do that other speakers don't. So it's one of those. I think you need to have a proper listen to them. Unfortunately, like I say, at the show, it didn't really work. I think it's a shame. I think I would have probably disconnected and put something else on. Really, because great, the amplifier is great. Obviously, Project Turntable's great. So yeah, that was a bit of a shame, really. Yeah, actually, this next one, this is interesting. This was the neat room. There's Bob in the corner there, on the right hand side. Neat petite. They've reintroduced the neat petite. I mean, they did do. I'm probably going to get my facts wrong now because I'm just struggling to remember. They did do an anniversary model, which there was a limited number of, which apparently just sold out. And this is the neat petite, sort of a cut down version of that to make it a bit more affordable, I suppose. Sort of quite a basic finish, but they sounded amazing. That was a really, really good sounding room, in spite of sort of, like I say, hotel room, whatever. That was a good sounding room, actually. Really, really like that. So I'm quite interested to hear those in a sort of more of an ordinary sort of domestic situation. Try to get a close up. Bit dark in there, really, but yeah, very, like I say, quite a petite. Quite small speakers, neat petite. I just like the name of those. The neat petite, I thought it was very, very clever, and it sort of captured people's imagination. Further on from that, we had the Icon room. I always quite fancied dealing with Icon, but never quite got on with it. I think they deal direct a lot, so there's probably not a lot of point. They did stipulate that you had to have on-site service, which kind of bothered me a little bit, so I didn't sort of pursue it. The fact that they actually made quite a play of the fact I needed to have on-site service was a little bit worrying, really. But great products, though. I've traded them in the past. They are really good. I've listened to quite a few Icons over the years. Yeah, most of their stuff is quite nice stuff. And then down, actually virtually on the stairs, Lateral equipment racks, which I sell, and this is a new version of the cadenza model, which I really like the cadenza, but it's just a bit plain black shelf sort of table, quite very clever actually. It's basically it's sort of MDF but tuned. It's actually routed out underneath even, and he tunes the boards. Everything's nice and dead, and it just works as a really good platform for your equipment, and it does improve. They do improve the sound. Not the cheapest turntable, cheapest rack, but they're not crazy money either. Actually, they're more expensive than things like your Atacamas, but they kind of justify the cost. This version is the veneered version, which apparently is acoustically a lot better because obviously the veneering stiffens everything up, quite a bit. He's also added in a little bit like Quadraspire did on one of their models, slots in there just to break up resonances, whatever. He's very dedicated. I mean, the chap that designs these, whose name, Kevin, I was going to say escapes me, but no, Kevin, he's almost obsessive with these things. He's done a really good job with them. But he was saying how much better the veneered version was, and he was, the excitement in his voice was wonderful actually. But I can imagine it will be. I mean, he's not the sort of person who sort of puts a positive where there isn't. If he was really excited about these, and I must admit I can't wait to get one of these in. So yeah, very wood finishes. They look a whole load better than the plain black version. And I like the plain black version. Looks nice. Bit of a shot from the top there. Yeah, really like those. I think that's going to do well. Actually, I think that is going to do well, because I think a lot of people don't take equipment racks into consideration enough. You need to isolate your equipment either by separate isolators or simple way, just get a really good rack. I mean, you can always add isolators if you want to, but a really good rack makes such a difference to all of the equipment. Record players, CD players, amplifiers, they're all affected by resonance, and these do control that, and it does improve things. And this was, why did I take this picture? Oh yeah, Primaire. It was a sort of mediocre sounding sort of room. It was like a lot of the others there, but I was just interested to see Primaire again, because I wasn't totally convinced that they were still imported into the UK. I used to deal with them years ago, and I'll just change the picture because there's a close up. Loved the sound of them, but they were always a little bit problematic reliability-wise. I mean, quite badly unreliable. This is going back a long way. Apparently, all those problems have been sorted out, and the newer stuff is much more robust now. But always sounded great, I thought. So I was really quite pleased to see Primaire there. Really, that might be something I'll have a look at in the future. Just took a picture of this because I thought it was a nice display. In Hagel, I've never quite decided about really. I've never heard a Hagel amplifier sound particularly involving. They're very clean, clear, and very everything. But there always seems to be sort of a detachedness in the sound. A little bit. I get the impression they're almost aimed at the sort of streaming market. Because you probably wouldn't notice with a streamer that there's this detached sort of feel to it. That's me being a little bit anti-digital, I know, but there's something not quite there with them. A lot of people go on at length about how good Hagel are, and I've never quite understood that really. But nice display, and if you're into Hagel, because people will be, and who am I to say? The actual support, they're brought in by Auden, who are a great company, do some good products. So the backup's really good, so no problems there. But like I say, I'll need to keep reassessing that one, but never been quite sure. Took this picture because Egglestonworks, I really like these. I've always liked the Egglestonworks speakers, and next picture as well, because that's just a bit of a move back on the same shot. But Canadian, beautifully made, sound great. Probably just a bit expensive in the UK. I think anything sort of imported like that, you're going to pay a big premium for, particularly things that weigh as much as these do. But in spite of all that, I really like the Egglestonworks stuff. Don't sell it, but really like it. And quite pretty in their own little way, really. I like those. Then went to the Kudos room. For once, I was so relieved, because Kudos tend to do demonstrations using not cheap, just one box solution streamers, driving speakers. You think, why have they done that? But yeah, they had the 60s. I think these are. I'm taking a wild punt. 606s. I should know this because I sell Kudos. Driven by accuphase, which are quite gutsy and nice and clean and clear. Streaming to it, which is probably a shame, but to be fair, it did sound good. Yeah, a really nice sounding room though, actually. And again, no furniture in there, but they managed to scrape together a decent sound. But yeah, that range, the Titan range, is superb. I always like the Titans. Moving on from that, now this was something else. Actually, this was probably the best sounding room at the show. I told Gareth when I stood next to him, said, this is the best room in the show. And then as I was saying it, I realised, I think last time I went there, I'd said to him, this is the best sounding room at the show. I don't know what it is. There's something about it, whether it's just taking the time to set it up or what they do. But they always get a really good sound. Now these are the new models, this is the first time I'd seen them and heard them. And this model's called the Voodoo, and it's high end. It is a high end speaker, really. Not crazy high end. I think with about 15-ish thousand for these. But my word, they were good. They were really, really good. And it's, again, I like to hear these in a situation where, a domestic situation driven by stuff that I know. But they weren't on anything particularly, expensive. There was just a basic amp and a little streamer thing going on. But yeah, it's really, really good. There's bass extension that seemed to be coming from. They shouldn't have been able to achieve somehow. I don't know how he does it, Gareth. He's such a good designer. So Ophidian. That's a bit of a close up on that one. Good looking speaker. I think the two bass drivers are 10-inch drivers, I think. So they're bigger than they look. They're not a small speaker. They're not following the usual Ophidian line of speakers. Are actually in reality much smaller than you think they are. But big sound. This is a big speaker, so crikey, the sound off those, because it's got this clever porting arrangement, like the other models, which does seem to work really, really well. Just took this one. They're just interested. Falcon Acoustics. They do an awful lot of BBC based licensed stuff. Just interested on these that they're actually using the big oval driver is what used to be the old KEF P139. So whether I thought that had discontinued now. So unless it may not be a driver, it might just be maybe like a radiator without a magnet on it. But just thought that was interesting. But yeah, Falcon. I think I mentioned when I was doing the Lincoln retro review about the amount of people who have the licensing to do the BBC monitors, and you can see on the left hand side little LS35A, and Falcon is one of those companies amongst probably 5-6 that are out there at the moment who have their own versions of these things. But yeah, I thought that they sounded quite good actually. Might have been helped by the slightly odd shaped room that might have been helping it acoustically a little bit, but they were quite good. And this one, I always get things like this at the show. Couldn't decide about this. I think I do wonder sometimes with this sort of kit whether it's more of a statement piece than acoustically sort of sound, if you forgive the pun. It sounded okay, very, very beamy. You had to be between the speakers. Sounded very much like almost PA-like sort of mid-band to it. Very sort of pinpoint imagery in the mid-band, but everything else seemed a little bit strange, a little bit detached somehow. But that's a horn thing, really. Horns are very difficult to get right. I'm sure the design's sort of okay, but there's some, I don't know. Perhaps, I think also psychologically, you see this wonderful looking thing in front of you and you expect the world from it, but they never quite achieve somehow. I don't know. Interesting kit there, nice all reel-to-reel. Not sure what the power amps are. Look a little bit like Audion, but I don't think they're not, because the Audions don't have the wood front panels. But interesting one. Let me get the phone. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm back again. The phone's been going mad. It's really been busy on the phone since because I've been closed for a week. Next room, Atoll, or should I say not Atoll, but the importers of Atoll, who do other things as well. Sounding good, and actually the speakers are Westbrook Audio, which is kind of vaguely to do with some of the employees employees and ex-employees of Brady Hi-Fi. So really, they were really good. Astonishingly good, actually. Tiny little boxes, big sound off them. But then again, the Atolls drive well, so that was quite interesting. But yeah, that was a good room, and I'll just zero in on a couple of bits, a bit dark. But on the right hand side, the two amplifiers there were actually the ones I've had in the shop. left-hand side, like a little MIDI size setup, and that was interesting. I think it's phono stage, a little streamer integrated, and a CD player. Now, actually, they've just dropped off the CD player for me to try, so I shall be doing a report on that, because Atoll CD players, I mean, the amplifiers are good, the CD players are really good, actually. I'm quite taken with them, so there will be a review of that shortly. So yeah, I think that's the Cranage show. I know it's a bit of a weird way of doing it, but I don't think video would have worked, so I've just, like I said, I've just taken a few snaps and just had a bit of a wander around. So that's it. I hope you like that. Like I say, anybody who saw me at the show, I think probably 8 or 9 people stopped to say hello, shook my hand, whatever, which was really nice. Really appreciated that. Good to see people in the flesh who sort of, subscribers or whatever. Saw a few customers, a couple of long-term customers I've known for years. So yeah, it was nice. It was a good show. Nice feel to it. I mean, later in the evening, I think they had live music and stuff like that. But it was basically Father's Day, and I was didn't want to spend too much time away from home. So yeah, it was a good one. So, like I say, I hope you like that. Don't forget to give us a subscribe and a like, and I will see you in a future video. Thank you very much.